All right, today we're going to dig into a really powerful sermon, one that might just completely change how you think about Christian mission. The main point? Well, it's that our usual idea of mission isn't just a little bit off, it might be way too small, even dangerously small.
So let's start with this big question. What if mission is way bigger than we think? What if it's not just about, where we go when we die, but about actually changing the world we're in, right here, right now? It's a pretty challenging thought, so let's get into it.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, the speaker, Jiggu Bogi, argues that before we can even touch the topic of mission, we have to talk about something else first, our first love.
And that leads to this next question, which, honestly, it feels like a trick question, doesn't it? What could possibly be more important than serving God? I mean, for a lot of us, that's the ultimate goal. But what we're about to see is a really surprising, kind of backwards answer to that.
And boom, there it is. The big idea here is that loving Jesus himself, that deep personal connection, has to come before all the ministry, all the service, all the work we do for him. If we get that order wrong, our work can actually start to replace the relationship itself. That's a powerful warning.
And this isn't just a problem for people new to faith. The speaker shares these incredible stories about seasoned leaders. We're talking a famous worship leader, a senior pastor, who stood up in public and basically said, "I got it wrong. My work for God became more important than my love for God." It just goes to show you this is a struggle for everyone, no matter how long you've been doing this.
So, okay, if that first love is our foundation, what happens next? How does that completely redefine mission? Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the whole framework that gets built on top of that foundation.
This is where things get really interesting. Mission isn't just about saving souls for heaven. The speaker frames it as building the kingdom of God on earth. So what does that mean? It means bringing God's values, things like justice and mercy and integrity, into every single part of our society. We're talking business, politics, art, everywhere, not just on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, check out this comparison. It really makes it clear. We often hear about the gospel of salvation, which focuses on forgiving sin. Think of it like a ticket to heaven. But the gospel of the kingdom is so much bigger. It includes that ticket, for sure, but it's also a mandate, a job description, to bring the culture of heaven down to earth, right now.
And where's the proof for this? Well, it's been hiding in plain sight. The speaker points to the Lord's Prayer. What do we say? Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. We've been praying for this all along. The goal has always been to see God's will happen right here.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theological idea. He gives this incredible real-world example, post-war South Korea. This was a nation that was just crushed, poor, corrupt, really in a bad place. But as Christianity started to grow and these values began to take hold, the entire nation started to change. It became more prosperous, more just. That right there is a picture of the kingdom of God changing a society from the inside out.
Okay, but is this kingdom on earth idea just a few verses here and there, or is it something bigger? Well, the argument here is that it's not a side plot. It is the main plot of the entire Bible.
This is such a cool way to look at it. Instead of seeing the Bible as, a library of 66 different books and stories, think of it as one single unfolding story, a grand narrative. And the plot of that entire story? It's God's mission to restore his kingdom.
And this timeline lays it out so clearly. You can see the whole arc. It all starts in creation. God's kingdom is right here. Then the fall happens, and it's all challenged. But right away, there's a promise of a redeemer. That leads to the story of Israel. And then the king, Jesus, shows up. And now it's our turn. The church is supposed to be advancing that very same kingdom. It's all one connected mission, from Genesis all the way to today.
Okay, so that's the big picture, the grand story. But this is where the rubber meets the road. What does all of this mean for us, for you and me, in our day-to-day lives?
And the answer is a real shock to the system. The speaker says your life's purpose is mission, full stop. It doesn't matter if you're an opera singer, a teacher, a construction worker, you are a full-time missionary. It's not a job title, it's who you are.
And if you don't believe me, look at the Bible's heroes. So many of them weren't priests or prophets in the traditional sense. Moses, he was basically a politician, a national liberator. David was an artist, a musician, and a king. Joseph and Daniel, they were top-level government advisors. They were bringing God's kingdom into the secular world.
And here's the payoff. This is what it can look like. The speaker brings up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were just 3 guys doing their government jobs. But because they took a stand for their faith at work, what happened? The most powerful king in the world, Nebuchadnezzar, literally made a new law protecting their God across the entire empire. Talk about impact. That is mission.
So the takeaway here is really simple, but it's huge. Your job, your school, your family, that's not something you do on the side of your spiritual life. That is your mission field. God has put you right there, in that specific place, to be a witness and to bring His values into that little corner of the world.
So, to wrap all this up, this massive idea of mission really comes down to 3 simple, powerful loves.
Yep, it all boils down to the number 3.
These are the 3 pillars that hold up this whole idea. Number 1, love God. That's our foundation, that first love we talked about at the very beginning. Number 2, love one another. That's about building a strong community, right? And number 3, love the world. The whole world that God made and that He's working to save. You get those 3 loves right, and you're living a missional life. And so that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. If your job, your profession, is your mission field, what's one way you can bring a little piece of the kingdom of God there tomorrow?